Avengers Age of Ultron spoiler talk. So, if you haven't seen my normal review, definitely check out the description below. Basically, it was just, I like the movie. I would recommend it. This is going to be about, like, my favorite, like, obviously the important stuff that I don't want to spoil, but, like, some of my biggest moments that I loved, and some of the biggest things that kind of disappointed me that I wish we got to see. And I guess I'll just go with the disappointments first, just so it doesn't sound like I'm nagging the entire way through the video and kind of end on a happy note. But my main disappointment with this movie is the underutilization of two of the big characters, and that's Quicksilver, excuse me, and the Vision. And Quicksilver I'd put at number one because, of course, he gets killed off in this movie. So it's like, it kind of, I wish that they gave him more of a focus, because with it being such a huge cast in this film, you have the Avengers, then you have um, the people the Avengers know. You have like Bart's family in this movie, which they don't get like a huge focus or anything, but you have them. You have the new scientists that got introduced in this film. We get Maria Hill back. We get Nick Fury again, and then we have like all the villains and stuff. So it's like with all these characters, they kind of don't have much of a focus on um, the characters I felt they should have had the most focus on. Like, we got the most backstory and focus I feel in this movie overall. It would have to be Bart, because we got to see that he has a family and how he interacts with his family stuff, and how Natasha even knew about his family and things like that. So we got that, and then it's like we have Quicksilver, who it's like Avengers 1, you end, and it's like they're introducing Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver, and huge twist at the end of this one, Quicksilver dies. And it's like the whole movie, he didn't really have any big moments. He had like some funny moments where, like when he first fought against Thor and stuff, and he was like, "Oh, I'll grab this hammer, out of the air and just toss it back," and he flew through into the crates. That was really funny, and he had some cool moments. And he was, even at the very end when he saved Bart and the little kid, he's like, "You didn't see that coming, did you?" And then he dies, and it was a cool moment. Like, he was a cool character for sure. And of course, the giant debate is which one's better, Age of Ultron or X-Men. I think pretty much everyone would go with X-Men. Some people go with Age of Ultron because he was closer to the comic books. But personally, I think, X-Men one just had a cooler moment. Like, I found this out today, that he was shoehorned into that movie because Fox knew that Marvel was putting Quicksilver in the Avengers film. So that's kind of funny how that played out, and I think it worked out great for us viewers, because that was like an epic scene with Quicksilver. But I guess that kind of explains why he was in the film and then was just like, poof, I'm out, because I'm a teenager or something. But I would definitely go with Days of Future Past Quicksilver, because he had that focus where, like, the scene where he runs around the room and stuff like that. Sorry if you haven't seen it, spoiler for that movie too. But he had like his own focus scenes and stuff before he was put out of the movie, and maybe that's why, because they knew he's gonna be like right here. Let's make this really cool for his character, because that's all he's gonna be in. And I kind of wish they did the same, because in the grand scheme of things for the cinematic universe, this is where Quicksilver is, and then we have all of this in the past, and then all of this, who knows what's gonna be coming out in the future. And he's not going to be a part of it because he died in this first film. Like, the first one that he was in, or technically, second one. So, I do wish we got to see a lot more of him, or that he had some real big moments. Like, I wish he kind of had his own little fight scene where he was going up against a bunch of the Ultron bots or whatever. And it would just have a little focus on him, and it would, by the end, I think it would make the question for people like, well, why does he get so much focus, and maybe Scarlet Witch doesn't, who did have a focus. I feel like she still got more focus in this movie than him, because she had the one scene with Bart, and they're in the house and stuff. And maybe that's why in the trailer she had so much focus, because they knew, well, we don't really want to push too much for Quicksilver, because he's just going to die in this movie. And I kept wondering that. I'm like, does Quicksilver, like, that was the big thing in the trailer, because they talk about how she joins the Avengers, and Captain America's like, oh, she's with us and stuff like that. And I'm like, okay, well, she joins. Does that mean that Quicksilver doesn't? And I think, now I kind of have my answer. It's not that he doesn't, it's that he does, but he dies, doing it. So it's like, why bother in the trailer? Because he's not gonna be in Avengers 3. She is though, so let's talk about her joining the Avengers. And I just wish we had more of a focus on him. I wish we had a bigger focus on Vision as well, because he's meant to be the ultimate, enemy to Ultron. So I obviously wish we had that, and we didn't. Like, they had like a tiny little fight in the beginning, and then Vision blocks Ultron out of something. I wasn't 100% sure what it was. I kind of missed the dialogue there, but he blocks him out, and basically Vision just like goes blank. Like, he's done for like 15 minutes and he's just gone until he comes back, and he has like some cool scenes. We see him actually phase through a couple robots, which was really sweet, because he had like the digitized green, like where he phased in at. I thought that looked really cool. And the way he started, when he was like, I think he was like mostly red, and then he changed the costume to what it normally is, and then he like added the cape because Thor was the one that he was talking to, and that was really cool too. Like, I like the scenes that he had, but I wish he had more. Like, I just wish we got to see him do more. And I love the ending scene between Vision and Ultron. Definitely amazing. It was very cool how they had like this serene little moment where they just talk as AI, like, they're making jokes and stuff like that, and mostly Vision was like, I guess we're both disappointments, and him talking about how he was only born yesterday, so he's allowed to make mistakes, to help, helping humans and stuff like that. I love that, and it was cool. Like, they had Ultron, you see Ultron, and then everything behind him is like sheer devastation, and he's coming off of a cliff. And then when they have it facing towards Vision, it's like, look at this amazing, beautiful, wooded area behind us. Look at this serene forest. So I thought it looked really cool. It's nice how they played that out. And, even without the visuals, it was just a nice moment between these two characters who were both AI. One was meant to be the final step for the other, but he became something much more. He became, the rival. And I wish we kind of got to see a battle between those rivals, even if it didn't end, everything. If they had a much longer fight than Vision grabbed Ultron's face and then passed out for 15 minutes, I think it would have been a lot cooler. And, that was one of the other things. And it mostly happened with Vision during that scene. But during the whole fight scene, there would be chunks of time where it's like, these characters are missing for like 10 minutes straight. And it would just seem really weird. So that was something that really stood out, only towards like the end fight scene. But the end fight was like, it seemed like it was 45 minutes by itself. So there's a lot where it's like, these characters are just missing like 5-10 minutes at a time. And it's just like gone or something, doing something. And it's like they could be at least like some verbal communication as to where they are, instead of them just saved you, popped right into the battle randomly. So that was something I definitely noticed. Another big thing I think a lot of people are noticing at this point is the sheer crazy destruction that's happening, and then it's like zero casualties. That really stood out in this one because of the Iron Man Hulk fight, especially at the end of it, where Iron Man's like, okay, this building has like zero people in it, and he drives Hulk all the way through the building. And of course they didn't, they can't always just clear out like city blocks and this and that and have cars look the way they're supposed to. But even if they did do that, it would be like, you could show all these cars stopped or this or that, and it's like, it had to be like 30 stories, 30, 40 stories high, and he's just driving them through all this steel and concrete stuff, probably like just shooting off the sides through every single floor they crack through. And it's like, those people right at the base of that, dead. Like, people within like a 1 mile radius, probably dead. There's stuff just flying all over the place. People are dying, and they don't really show that too often. They never show anybody die, except, ironically, for Quicksilver in this movie. And it was just one of those things, like, I feel like this was probably the one to do that. This was definitely a darker film than the first Avengers movie. It was like, oh, it's my brother coming in, we have some issues, but then we beat him. This is like Ultron, who in the cartoons, which I only know, this is fortunately one of the few stories I know, thanks to Avengers Earth's Mightiest Heroes, which sadly got canceled. And, I haven't seen the Avengers Assemble cartoon, but I'm going to instantly assume that it's not as good as Earth's Mightiest Heroes, because that had, like, basically every season of that was just, like, one of the biggest stories in all of Marvel. Like, the first one was, like, the first Avengers movie. The second season, I think, was, probably Ultron was the second thing, so they were going through the big stuff. The third one was like the Red Hulk, and when Hulk is gone, which they may or may not be leading to by the end of this movie. So it was like they had like new members and new Avengers coming in, like Ant-Man, when he changed to become the Hornet, and certain characters who like would leave the team for a while, and they would switch characters in and out. So they were doing, you know, huge things. That's a totally different video. I'm getting like way off topic, but because of that show, I know how deadly Ultron was, and he had it where, at one point, he was literally just vaporizing people with a look. Like, he had like a laser, hit you, you're done. Like, particle wise, you just disperse into, you're basically air at this point. And I wish we kind of got that serious feeling from him in this movie, which really we did at one point. And it became a funny scene when he chopped off Andy Serkis's hand, because he got really mad that he compared him to Tony Stark. And so he freaks out and chops his hand off. And I love him because he was so genuine, and he had a ton of funny moments like that. But that was probably as dark as he got, was him chopping that guy's arm off. And then, yeah, his ultimate plan, but admittedly it's like the villain's evil plan never seems that dark, because we know they're not going to complete it. But we never see like that incredibly dark moment. Like, maybe he could have actually had all the Avengers like end up a point where they just couldn't do anything, and he just like, maybe not crushes a person, they wouldn't show that, but he does do like some crazy laser beam, or just hits someone with a, you know, pulse beam, and it just shoots through him and he kills them or something like that. But ultimately it was just like drone army, and that was really all of his powers, that he just had a bunch of replicas, and if he got killed off or they tore through yet in like the 10,000th body, he would just already be in another one. So it wasn't like he was this ultimate threat, except for like when he fought Iron Man in the beginning. That was pretty much it. Like, he was physically fighting him, and every other time it was like, oh, he pretty much totally escapes every time when he's in like his ultimate body form. I mean, they had the scene with him versus Captain America, which was pretty cool, but you know, that was kind of it. Like, it was those two scenes. When the one with Cap didn't seem like too life-threatening because they were having like a fist fight. When he was fighting with Iron Man, though, they were like flying through stuff, and it seemed like really dangerous, and he, you know, actually was fighting until he was basically destroyed, and he was like, you know, I'm in another body anyway, so that didn't matter to him. But those were like the only couple of moments, and the actual ending thing was just lifting a city up and making it into a comet, and he wasn't like this ultra deadly villain who could literally hit you with a laser beam from his eyes and evaporate you. So I kind of wish he was a little bit deadlier, and you know, I still think he was really awesome. The acting for the character and the way they wrote him and gave him like those oddly funny lines, still loved all that stuff, so that was pretty cool. Another huge thing I did love was definitely all the crazy cameos in this one, which I didn't expect at all. Like, we knew Rhodes was going to be in it from the sort of party scene where they're trying to pick up the hammer, which also had another great moment with Captain America moving the hammer a little. I thought he moved it like a tiny bit from the scenes that they actually, from that scene that they put out like months and months ago, but that lasted for like a lot longer than I expected it to. It was like, it was still only like 1 second, but he moved it way more than I thought he did when they first released that video. It was like, oh, it moved like this much, but when you actually watch it, it's like, it's a little bit noticeable in that. Like, he actually moves it quite a bit, and it really freaked her out. It was like, in the initial footage, it was like, oh, he stopped smiling, but in this, he actually genuinely had a look of worry on his face, and it was like, he wasn't just like, ah, see, told you. He was like he actually took a full deep breath, like, holy crap, that almost just happened. But you know, they had Rhodes in there. We got to see Falcon in there. We also got to see Rhodes actually as War Machine, which I thought was really freaking sweet, because I didn't expect that at all. So we actually got to see him as War Machine towards the end of the movie. Falcon was in there in his costume at the very end of the movie, which I thought he was going to be with War Machine, but unfortunately that didn't happen. We also got to see Agent Carter, played by Haley Atwell. That was really sweet, because I did not expect her to be in that at all. Like, you know, they have the flashbacks and stuff, and or like, you know, the crazy dream sequences, and it made perfect sense. I was like, that was actually really sweet. I didn't, you know, yet another person that I didn't expect to see in this movie. So that was really cool to see her in it as well, especially because I watched Agent Carter when that was on. So it was cool to see her in it. All the action was obviously really sweet. I love that. This had like a ton of great epic and funny moments too that I really love. Like the stuff with Bart was really cool and learning about his character. The stuff between Bruce and Natasha, I personally enjoyed. I'm sure a lot of people didn't like that. My girlfriend kind of hated it. She always seems to hate all romance stuff, which I find incredibly ironic for her. But she seemed to totally hate it. I thought it was fine. I thought it was actually really cool because it was like, well, here's at least some love connection between some of the members, and it's like she having this past that she has, which is very serious. She's kind of one of the a few people that can actually bond with Bruce, who feels like he's a true monster because he turns into the Hulk. So I love the way that that played out through the film and how it ended too, with Hulk kind of going on his own and realizing it just wouldn't work. Like he still feels he's just the Hulk and that he's far too dangerous even to this woman that he really cares about and who obviously cares about him. So I thought it was actually well done, and I love the way it ended because it does leave this thing just wide open, like where is he going? So I'm excited for that. Yeah, like I said, the cameos were sweet, the typical action stuff. Wish we got to see Quicksilver a lot more because he isn't going to be in any of them. Wish we got to see Vision more, but once again, he's going to be in the other movie, so it's not nearly as big of a deal because he's not going to die. We're going to see an entire movie. We're going to see, Avengers 3, maybe some cameos of him, possibly in Captain America 3, with that being Civil War, and that story revolving around Captain America and Iron Man. We'll probably see Vision in there, and I would love for them to start doing that in like all the movies when it's like some of the bigger members. We get to see more of these crossovers because this is kind of the thing I was waiting for them to do in some of the other movies, where it's like, hey, let's hang out or whatever. Like this random thing happens, and they bring in these people they have who are established from like Iron Man or from Thor. Like they had the scientist in this movie, and he kind of just helped out Thor like a tiny bit, but it was still cool. It's like, oh, that's pretty sweet. I thought Natalie Portman was going to be in it, which would have been huge because she's obviously like a much bigger name actor compared to the guy who's the scientist. But she wasn't in it. I just thought like they're just bringing everyone in. Like these are like the really really big actors from the other films that play like giant roles. And I guess technically the guy does play a huge role in the Thor films, but she's not Natalie Portman. So it's just like, man, I thought they're just kind of bringing everybody in. So it was still really cool, and I'm excited to see them do that some more in some of the other films. Just the random cameos, like, oh, hey, here's Tony Stark in this or that, or here's whoever, and stuff like that. And it's not just the end credit scene. It's like they're genuinely just meeting within the middle of the film. Like they don't have to be in it a long time, but they just meet up and, hey, see you later. Thanks for coming or whatever. So that would be pretty sweet. The stuff that they did for Thanos and kind of hinting at Avengers 3 and the Infinity Rings, I thought that was pretty cool. Thor knowing that there was something extra in his vision, I think that was a nice way to kind of slip that in there. It fit perfectly. It was like, here's how these characters are going to figure this out, and that's all it needs, because there's going to be like 8 billion movies in between now and Avengers 3, so here it is. He'll take care of that. It'll probably be half the storyline of Thor 3, so we'll get that. It'll be pretty sweet. But I like the movie. It definitely has some great moments to it. Like I said, I can't speak enough on how much I do wish we got to see more Quicksilver because he dies. That's like, I wish he was just utilized more. But that's really my biggest issue, just because the character doesn't have that chance to develop any further, because that's it. And his death did lead to a really epic moment with Scarlet Witch when she unleashes like the full blast of her power, and she like completely evaporates the robots instead of like crushing them and ripping them apart. I love that because Scarlet Witch is that powerful, and she I think like in the comics at this point she's like literally rewritten the entire world. At one point I think they changed it back or something, but she rewrote the entire planet and erased all mutants from the face of the planet. So she has that type of power. She can like change dimensions, all sorts of crazy stuff. But I enjoyed the film, loved the cameos, loved all the cool action moments. The epic moments were definitely epic, especially all all the stuff with Thor's hammer I love. Like the openings, the first part they had with it was really funny, and him freaking out about Cap being able to hold it. What they did with Vision and stuff was really epic, and him being able to hold it, because I never knew he did that. I knew that Hulk did it before, just through his insanely sheer strength. I knew Captain America did it before because I'd seen that happen in one of the old Avengers cartoons, one of the old movies that they did, the old cartoon movies. So I knew he'd done it, I knew Hulk had done it, and it was like a huge difference between that, because Captain America's kind of worthy. I think Beta Ray Bill is how you pronounce his name. I knew he'd done it because he's as worthy as Thor as well. So those are the only three I knew. I'd never known that Vision could do that. So when I saw it, even for me, I was like, that's really cool. It's an epic scene. And I love that. It was a really awesome moment. And then when they talked about it at the end of the movie, it was really funny with Captain America and Tony being like, you know, maybe it's because he's an android, it doesn't really count. So it's like, you know, he's just super powerful, this and that. But if you put it in an elevator, you know, the elevator goes out, it's like, the elevator's not worthy. Just all this silly stuff. I thought it was just really nice how they did it. It was like funny, super epic, and like people were clapping when that happened because it was, you know, a really good scene. And then at the end, it was just really, really funny again. But I love the movie. I want to know what some of, you know, your biggest and favorite, you know, important moments or least favorite important moments were in the film. Like some things you guys wish were fleshed out. Maybe you wish Ultron was deadlier like he is in the comics and cartoons. Maybe you guys wish we got to see more of Quicksilver like I do, because he's freaking dead. That's really the only reason. If he lived, it still would have sucked because it was the first movie that they were all in. Like, I still wish Vision got way more time than he did. But, you know, all in all, it's like, well, he's going to be in something. Unlike Quicksilver, who's going to be a tombstone in the next movie. But, you know, that's just me. I want to know what you guys think. So please comment below, let me know. And thanks for watching.